First, line up your part, then take a punching tool, insert it into each of the holes in the center, punch it. Without turning this, in other words, don't do this, mark all 4 holes, right there. Then we're going to take a correctly sized drill bit. Here's the kit of everything I need, by the way. So this particular one is going to be an M5, right here, M5 by 0.5 internal thread. Okay, and that goes along with this 7.1 millimeter size. So you'll need a table, correctly sized drill bits, and we're going to go ahead and drill the holes. Alright, we've loaded the drill bit, tighten it up right here. Torque does not matter. We're going to be in drilling mode, not screwing mode. For steel, they say low and slow, so low speed, first gear, and we're going to push really hard. Okay, got our hole. Just take our chips away from the hole. Now, these rivet nuts have teeth right there along the top edge, and they also, maybe not yet, but they're going to have some marks along the top edge. Okay, so the teeth along the top edge are the ones that are going to end up in the hole once we put it into the tool. Here's our rivet nut thread conversion kit. This particular one's for M5 by 0.8, and this component is magnetic on that end, and this end it has a hex driver. This component has a temporary rivet nut attached to it, so we're going to go ahead and remove that. It's a little different than the other one, so I'm going to set it aside. Okay, take note of the direction of this brass or steel part that's kind of golden color. You see those teeth right there, so they're going to come in the direction of the threads. Here's a rivet nut installation tool. Right here at the bottom you can see it says lock and open, so we're going to rotate this to the open position, and that allows this M3 side to come out. Okay, but also we're going to bring this guy out. We're going to take this magnetic component out. Okay, so that's the other ones. Now we've got this sort of hex socket, and we're going to insert this hex driver right here, magnetic, so it's going to go into that hex socket. It's going to hold itself with that magnet. Alright, retracting this tool, making sure we're still in the open position, making sure that we've got this little stack up right here put together correctly. And I actually like to apply some tap wax to these threads because they tend to get worn. But what that means is you're going to have to watch out for putting too much torque, especially in the M3, M4, maybe the M5s, because if you put too much torque, you won't notice because it's so slick, and you'll tear the threads out of the actual rivet nut. Here's some tappies. You can get it on like MasterCard. It's called tap wax, or probably cheaper other places. So tappies is your stuff. Just some wax. We'll put it on these threads here. There's our wax. And then this guy goes inside here, again, minding the order and the directionality of everything installed on this bolt. Once you get this flush surface kind of right in there like that, then we'll rotate this guy to the locked position. This is an important part. We need to mind what direction this goes on. Again, the teeth are going to go toward inside the hole, and so the threads are going to be, oh, actually I got that wrong. No, the threads actually go toward the end of the bolt. I guess those teeth are up at this end. Okay. Yeah, oh, right. Okay, because it's going to go down inside the hole. Apologize, guys. Right, so the teeth are teeth first. Teeth first. Threads toward the end of the bolt. And we're just going to screw this on here. And if it doesn't screw on, we're going to use this T-handle and engage the T-handle into the head of the bolt. The head of the bolt being inside here, you can't really see it. Once this is just somewhat tight, we're ready to go. So we're going to insert this into the hole. We're going to make this surface right here as flush as possible and level to this surface right here. You may have to push with this handle or drill your hole larger. So I pushed really hard because I don't like to drill the hole larger. If you do, a lot of times the rivet nut will not engage, it won't hold. So now we need to pay attention to tilting this way and tilting this way, which is difficult for one person to do, but you're going to have to. It's very important. And we're going to engage that bolt with this T-handle, and we're going to rotate it until the torque required to turn the bolt increases, and that means we're there. And that takes some practice, so I recommend practicing on some areas that don't really matter, because there's a high chance that you may not put enough torque, in which case you sometimes can re-engage and re-tighten additionally. Other times, if you put too much torque, you'll tear the threads out of these poor little aluminum rivet nuts. So yeah, here goes. I just wanted to re-emphasize, you need to hold this really securely, tense up your entire left arm, or right arm as it may be, and turn this guy super hard, especially the M6. That's going to require an awful lot of torque. Be advised. Once it feels like it comes to a stop, without tilting this too much because it's kind of attached, just use the T-handle to back out that bolt now, all the way. Alternatively, you can release the lock-unlock ring, and sometimes that could be a little bit quicker, but you will have to put it back together then. Once that bolt comes all the way out, that happens sometimes, don't worry. Alright, once you've got the tool back together, out of the hole, this is a complete tool ready for installing the next rivet nut. Here's a properly installed rivet nut. Not too proud from the surface. If you touch it, it doesn't rotate. Install a screw in it, it still doesn't rotate. That's good. On the side. It protrudes a little bit, and that's great. And so if it does rotate, sometimes you have a chance to redo this. If this is a 7.1 millimeter drill bit, then you might want like a 6.5 or something in that range. You can drill this out, grab it from the back side with channel lock pliers, crush it, wiggle it, remove it. Don't make that steel hole any larger though, and you may have an opportunity to install another new rivet nut. And if the problem was related to maybe you didn't tighten that T-handle tight enough, or just something wasn't quite right, then you should be able to install a second one, it'll work. On the other hand, if your original hole drilled by this drill bit ended up too large because maybe your drill wandered or something like that, or you used the wrong size, then you may not be able to install a rivet nut of this thread size into this hole at all, because these aren't able to swell large enough to fill the hole that you created. And so you might have to put a larger bolt or something like that. But yeah, again, if you try a second time and you just give this a little more torque, hopefully you can get that in there so that it does not rotate in the hole. And finally, when you're done, you can test fit everything. Look straight down into each of these holes. Make sure, make sure they line up. Okay, little problem there. A little adjustment. Okay, this one will probably still go together okay, but what I recommend is I did something wrong. 7.1 millimeter drill, a little bit large for starting in the dimples created by this punch, and I should have created some pilot holes. And what I'm thinking is that what happened is this large drill bit didn't really follow one of the punch dimples, and so it probably wandered a little bit, and we ended up with our hole offset. Now, these holes are really large. These are probably like 7.5, 8 millimeter holes, and so these are M5s. We should use M6s, right? But actually, that would actually make it more difficult to actually align. And so, if you're in a high precision kind of application where you've got M6 bolts, 6.5 millimeter diameter hole, you've only got a very small amount, fraction of a millimeter of play when you're putting in your holes. So be very mindful of that. When you're done, you want to go ahead and take apart this tool, because you want to store both of these little parts, which are specific to a particular thread size, in their neat little jar. And then not only that, we want to make sure that this drill bit, which is specifically sized for these rivet nuts, are all together with the rivet nuts. So you got the rivet nuts, the drill bit, this guy, and so they all go together, and you're going to have some kind of place to store those in the same place. And then these guys need to go home also. And then these are, of course, separate tools, as well as this one.